The good news is we're all in this together. And when we see we're together, we can work things out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and the very famous Tom Fennell, philanthropist and what else? Do you still deliver the Commons?
No, I stopped doing that about a year ago. It was getting too hard on my back getting in and out of the car.
So he used to be a philanthropist and a newsboy, but he's not.
Hey, it's the world coming full circle. That was my first job in life.
Was it?
Yeah.
My first job was
I delivered the Bronx Home News.
clipping grass with hand clippers around headstones in a graveyard. Okay, every day I get up early and I look at the news. I find things that are interesting in regards to energy and climate change, and every time I find one that I like, I put it together with a link to the original article as a synopsis. I make a 50 or 55 word synopsis, put them together. 10 to 15 of these go up on my blog every day, and you can go to the blog and read what we're talking about, because what we're going to deal with is the material that has been at the blog in the previous week. Today is Thursday the 25th, and we start a week earlier.
Start off with a picture.
We start with a picture. It's a nice picture. Put that up. That's a red-tailed hawk in the middle of the picture.
How do you know he's got a red tail?
I don't know. It just said red-tailed hawk in the caption. I saw an eagle once, and I could tell that it was a golden eagle because it had feathers that went all the way down to its toes. It looked like it was wearing black bloomers, or dark grayish brown bloomers. And I tell people about that, and they say, no golden eagles in Massachusetts. Forget it, you're wrong.
That's what they say, because I swear I've seen two of them.
Yeah.
Here, right in Vernon.
Yeah.
And I got in touch with whoever the chief bird guy is in the state. None. You saw an immature bald eagle.
That's what they say, but the problem is the bald eagles don't have feathers going all the way to the toes.
I didn't notice them that carefully, so I don't know.
Well, they'll tell you you're wrong every time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I saw a chicken
there's an orthodoxy in science,
yes.
And you dare not challenge that orthodoxy.
I remember living in Plymouth, Massachusetts, walking down Cherry Street, which is a street that's got a lot of people on it during rush hour, and there was nobody around. And I was walking in one direction on the sidewalk, and coming in the other direction in the middle of the street, and this was the day before Thanksgiving, was a turkey. You never know what's going to happen. This is in a town with a sizable population. Anyway, we've got to get to work on this thing, and we have an article from the Commons. This is about
it's a
local articles.
Resolutions filed in several towns to get climate change on town meeting warrants.
Residents in 30 towns across Vermont, including Brattleboro, Dummerston, Londonderry, Newfane, Marlborough, Putney, and Weston, are petitioning to put climate change in their respective town meeting day agendas and ballots. Vermont has a goal to power the state with 90% renewables by 2050, but it's not close to achieving that goal.
This is an interesting thing, though.
Yep.
A little takeaway from this, it says Vermont is not alone.
Yes.
A recently released report from the UN shows that the worldwide effort to stem greenhouse gases has fallen short of the goal set by the Paris Climate Agreement.
Yes.
Okay, the Vermont resolution calls on towns and the state to make 3 commitments, and these are the 3. 1, stopping any new fossil fuel infrastructure, such as piping.
Right.
2, committing to at least 90% renewable with firm interim deadlines.
Deadline.
And 3rd, ensuring that the transition to renewable is fair and equitable to all Vermonters.
Well,
that's fair.
Yeah, we have to do it. One of the problems that conservative Republicans are going to have to face something is that climate change is real, and it's going to bite them if they don't do something. Really?
I hear totally what you're saying. 97% of scientists say it's happening.
And the other 3% don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
So you don't know what
because of that, the media has to give equal attention to both sides.
Yeah, well, in this particular case, it's a question of do we survive or don't we survive? 97.
When you look at it that way.
Yeah. So basically, what we've got is a revolver with 100 chambers. 97 of them have bullets in them, and the other 3 we don't know what's in them. So are you going to play Russian roulette with this? Really? I mean, honest to goodness. Conservatives are supposed to be conserving things. That includes life.
It has nothing to do with conservatism.
I know it has nothing to do with conservatism. It's money.
It's a little bit about
the
power,
GOP.
it's a lot about money.
Yep. The GOP has been bought off, I believe. And I'm speaking as a person who voted twice for Richard Nixon, once for...
That's the same election.
No, different elections. Once for Gerald Ford, twice for Ronald Reagan, twice for George Bush, once for Robert Dole, once for George W. Bush.
Wow.
The second time, I didn't vote for George W. Bush for a reason. And the reason was because it was very clear that climate change is happening, and his administration was in denial. So, I mean, we have to stop this.
That's been the tipping point.
Yeah, well, the tipping point for the world is here, and now we've got the United States being thrown into a situation of being unable to compete in world markets because climate change is real. Well, we have something later on.
We talked about that
I'll
before.
tell you. We have to continue going.
Let's move on.
Our next item is from Clean Technica.
BlackRock CEO calls for social justice in corporate culture.
Yeah.
This is a good article. There's a lot of food for thought.
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
article.
Although
I recommend you read it.
when I hear BlackRock, I think, BlackRock? Really? Does that have anything to do with Whitewater? Is there?
Well, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager.
Yes.
Okay, it's an American global investment management corporation.
Yes.
And it is large.
Yes. As founder and CEO of BlackRock, Lawrence D. Fink controls over $6 trillion in assets. On January 16th, the chief executives and most of the major business corporations in the world received a letter from him telling them they have to develop social conscience if they wish BlackRock to continue investing in their businesses.
And this is very interesting. Here you got a leader of industry.
Yes.
Telling people you've got to have a social conscience.
He's not the first one to do that, but this is an interesting.
He may not be the first one, but the one with credentials like this guy has.
Yes.
When this guy talks, everybody listens.
Yes. Well.
At least everybody in the investment.
Yeah. I don't think I can. I think I can name a few people who would much prefer not to listen. Okay. Our next item is from Bloomberg Quint.
Fossil fuels face a $1.4 billion solar problem in Texas. This is an interesting development too.
Interesting. A boom in solar power could wipe out $1.4 billion per year of summertime revenue for Texas fossil fuel generators. Almost 15 gigawatts of solar power. That's a lot of power. May be installed in coming years, and every gigawatt stands to reduce peak summer wholesale electricity prices by about $2.76 per megawatt hour, which is about almost 3/10 of a cent per kilowatt hour.
So what it basically is saying that the utility companies were profiting on the high price of power in the middle of the day when everybody wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
and now with people developing their own power at this point in time when they need it.
When the sun is shining and the air conditioning is going, that's when the sun is out.
Yeah. This peak is going down.
And we've seen this.
It was very profitable.
It used to be profitable. It's not anymore. This is based on analysis from Bloomberg New Energy Finance. And, you know, there's a flip side to this. The utilities, the generators, are going to lose money on this. But there are people who gain money from this, and that's anybody who uses that power.
I was just going to say the
customers.
The customers, yeah.
And anybody who invests in renewable power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, particularly that it's happening in Texas.
Well, Texas is very big on wind power.
They are now, yeah.
You know, they have, I think, more than double the second.
Texas is big on wind.
They have more than twice as much wind power as the second place state.
But you think Texas, you think oil.
Well, the oil is running out.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of work on the Roscoe wind farm. I've told you, mentioned that over the past couple of years a bunch of times. And one of the things that I did was I looked at it from the air, and you look at the satellite imagery for the Roscoe wind farm, which has, I think it's 683 turbines. It's a lot of turbines in this thing. People in Roscoe.
This is bigger than Windham County.
Yeah. The people in Roscoe love this wind farm.
Yeah.
They really do.
People down there.
But I looked at it from satellite imagery, and you can see these wind turbines. You can also see among them oil wells.
Yeah.
The pumping jacks, which are in most cases dismantled, broken.
They're not working anymore.
They're not working anymore. There are a few of them that look like they might be in good enough shape that somebody's tending them, but most of them are just out of business. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, we got another image coming up.
We do, and we're up to Friday, January 19th, a day that was unusual because I had...
This is an interesting article.
I had 5 articles this day.
Norway targets electric power for all short-haul flights by 2040. This blew my mind.
Yeah, this is from Business Green. Norway is aiming to be the first country in the world to switch to 100% electric planes for short-haul flights.
Which doesn't even exist yet. Don't even exist yet.
They're working on it.
They're working on it. We've talked about that.
The country's airport operator Avinor has announced this. The company wants all of the country's short-haul airliners to be electric by 2040 in what is the most ambitious goal yet adopted for the embryonic electric aviation sector. And embryonic, it's not born yet. But it's
well, they got prototypes.
They have prototypes, and the prototypes work.
And this is 2040, so we got a little bit of time.
23 years, yeah.
And what I got a little takeaway here. Their plan is to start small and facilitate the short-range network. These are these small planes that go within the country.
Yep.
11 passengers, something like that.
Yep.
They gradually are going to move to all flights that are less than an hour and a half in length.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay? It makes sense.
Rudyard Kipling wrote a story about transatlantic blimps. This is what he thought was going to happen in the future.
Well, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the Hindenburg really that
I wonder
that
whether
whole idea.
I wonder whether we might return to that. The Hindenburg
They have been talking about that for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't really either, but I kind of wonder, because if you think about it, you get on a plane, taking an airplane across the ocean, you're spending hours in the plane. You're spending hours in the airport. You're spending hours getting off. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It takes time. You get into a blimp, and you're in a thing that, if it's in the jet stream, is only going to go about a quarter of the speed of an airplane, maybe a third. Mm-hmm. And if it's not in the jet stream, it's going to go a lot slower than that.
Go slow.
But a blimp, they supply you with a bed, you bunk out, and you wake up in the morning. Okay, we should keep going, I think.
Okay. Fuel security, key risk for a New England grid.
A new ISO New England report finds that New England's grid is vulnerable to a season-long outage. That's like 3 months of outage. We're talking
That's
about
what they're talking
bad.
about, yep.
This is not good for business. If of any of several major energy facilities, such as the 688 megawatt Pilgrim nuclear plant, which recently went offline in a cold snap because it lost power coming to the plant.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, this is a vulnerability of nuclear plants, is that they have to have power coming in. The problem with them is when they're running nuclear power, they can't run 1%. They've got to.
They got to run 100%. They run all the time.
They got to run all the time. They can run at reduced percentage, but not much. And they have to have that go someplace. And if they can't generate power, they have to get power from someplace, which is why they've got generators. But the most concerning trend is increased reliance on natural gas.
That's an interesting development.
Isn't it?
Isn't it really?
Yeah. So the natural gas industry wants us to buy more natural gas. They want to put in pipelines for this purpose.
Yeah.
And ISO New England is saying, wait a minute, gang, is that really wise?
By the time they get the pipelines built, we're going to run out of natural gas.
I don't think we'll be out of natural gas, but I think that we'll be out of natural
Cheap
gas
natural
customers.
Gas. Well, okay.
I'm sticking by that thing where I'm saying the price of fossil fuels will continue to stay low, I think, possibly, with fluctuations, but it will go up at the home and at the gas pump, and the reason is because the amount that is sold will be reduced, and that makes it extremely inefficient.
Well, the story here is reliability.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that again in this show.
We will indeed.
Okay.
That article, by the way, was from RTO Insider. Our next article is from independent.ie, which tells you right off the bat it's Ireland.
Yep. 20 new solar farms planned for Irish coasts.
Capital Stage AG, a Hamburg-based solar and wind park operator, has announced a partnership with the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund to co-invest in a power capital portfolio consisting of more than 20 solar farms. This is 20 solar farms in Ireland. Ireland.
Some of them are very small.
Yeah. With a total generating capacity of 140 megawatts. That's not small.
Not too small.
The investment is ISIF's first for solar park developments in Ireland.
That's the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund.
Yeah.
I love acronyms. This is a little takeaway here. The individual parks will range in size between 5 megawatts and 25 megawatts.
Yeah.
So 5 megawatts, that's one turbine.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except,
my God, I was reading an article from 2013
yeah,
about a 7 megawatt turbine.
Offshore though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't say these are all going to be onshore, does it?
Yeah, they're on. Well, it doesn't really say that, but I assume they are.
I would guess
at the
that they are.
coastline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 7 megawatt turbine might be reasonable on the coast in the proper location.
Oh, yeah. No, more to the takeaway here. The Irish government is committed to generating some 40% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2020. I think they're on the road.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do it.
Well, kicking and screaming. I mean, we're talking about the UK government here. Is that what you just said? The Irish government.
Did I say the UK?
No, I think you said Irish.
I said the
Irish.
government,
I just zoned out on
Yeah.
it. Okay. The UK government is so strange, but that's a different issue. Okay, we have an item here from a publication called This Is Money.
This is an interesting article, too.
Yes.
Home energy bills can be slashed by up to 2/3 by adapting electric car battery technology for houses.
Yeah. UK householders can cut their domestic energy bills by up to 66% by turning their homes into mini power stations, according to Japanese car giant Nissan. Excess energy collected via solar panels on sunny days and stored in fridge-sized home battery during off-peak times could be sold to the national grid, that's lowercase, not the company, when demand is at its highest.
Well, Nissan is pushing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
They want to sell batteries.
And there's a couple of angles to it. One
Yep.
of them is that fridge-sized battery,
Yes.
and the other one is the battery in your electric car.
Yes.
And they're arranging so that if you've got an electric car and you're charging it, it can be sitting by your house and you can use it to power your house.
Right.
These people thought this out
Yeah.
well, and they're pushing the idea. And I think it's a good idea.
Renewable energy and dealing with climate change is the biggest single business opportunity that has ever come along.
Say that again, because that's wisdom.
Renewable energy and the addressing climate change is the biggest business opportunity ever to come along. I'm not the first person to say this. This is something that economists have been saying. But it's true. And the United States, by doing things like pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord and putting tariffs on solar panels and stuff of this nature, is putting itself into a position where people in the world at large are not taking us seriously. And we're going to...
It's harmful. There's no question about it. Can I use the word stupid?
Yeah, I think you can use the word stupid. But, you know, I mean, did you see that thing that Donald Trump said in the last few days about women having babies?
No, I didn't see that.
Women should not be allowed to have babies after 9 months. It should not be permitted.
Huh?
He was misspeaking. He was talking about something else. But this is what came out of his mouth. Yes.
Sometimes he says some remarkable things.
He does. I mean, in the old days, we used to have things like a scandalous problem of a vice president of the United States who couldn't spell the word potato. But here, I mean, we've got something that really, Donald Trump is a comedy routine.
I'm sure he's already denied that he said it.
I don't know. He might have said, you know, I never thought about that before, but it's true. Okay, we are up to Saturday, January 20th, and we have a picture of sugar maples.
Nice picture coming up here.
Isn't that a beautiful picture? That looks like it's Vermont or New Hampshire. Yeah, let's find that
what
picture.
What a magnificent picture of sugar maples.
Yeah.
They got that at the peak.
Yep,
and this is sat down there and waited
for that. Yes,
yeah.
This is a story from Newsweek, and it's kind of depressing.
In the battle of maple syrup versus climate change, the sweetener may lose.
Climate change.
Subheading here: climate change could threaten breakfast.
Yeah, climate change threatens the sugar maples in northern hardwood forests. As global temperatures rise, drought could stunt their growth. A decades-long study found the number of sugar maple trees will decrease, diminishing the amount of maple syrup available and eliminating the stunning colors of these forests during the autumn. You know, this is something the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources was telling us this 10 years ago.
Yeah, they were.
And, you know, they're saying...
now it's happening.
It's happening.
Measurably happening.
Well, before I came to Brattleboro, I lived across the river, and I had neighbors who were one of them was a farmer who used to win awards for his maple products in New Hampshire. And I remember that in the last few years, before I moved here, which was 14 years ago, they were complaining that the mapling seasons were
shorter.
They were getting erratic. They were coming earlier. They were unable to produce grade A syrup in the quantities that they wanted to produce. They were producing a lot of. I remember.
How many years ago?
20 years ago.
Wow.
And well, the first time I heard anecdotal evidence of climate change, I remember I was in class in I think that was 6th grade.
Wow.
Now look at me. I was in 6th grade.
That was more than last week.
Yeah, it was more than last week. I had a teacher who said, you know, in the old days, when he was young, the old timers used to tell him that the temperatures in Minnesota, where they lived, and the snowfall, the temperatures were colder, the snowfall was greater, and it had all warmed up and calmed down. And you know, it was like 1958, I think, that I read stuff saying that the glaciers were retreating in Glacier National Park. And you know,
you're going to have to change the name of the park soon.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I think there's only one glacier left.
There's a Welsh word, coombe, which has actually made it into the English language, C-O-O-M-E, but in Welsh it's C-W-M, and it means a hollowed out valley.
Okay.
It's like, you know, I forget the name of the valley that the Old Man in the Mountains was in New Hampshire.
Okay.
But that shape, where you have a bowl-shaped valley, which is sculpted by a glacier.
By ice, yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to have to call it, instead of Glacier National Park, they'll call it Coombe National Park. Anyway.
Well, what we're probably not aware of, but the sugar maples are very drought sensitive.
Yes.
And they're getting drought, and it's already measurable. I like to say that the sugar maples are migrating north. That's
they are.
One way of looking at it.
They are.
Being replaced by oaks and ashes.
By what?
Oaks and ashes.
Yeah, and what'll happen is the ash trees will be killed off by the emerald ash borer. And what the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources is saying is that the only trees we've got that are not going to get killed off are oaks and hickories. And the ridgetop habitats that people who are against wind turbines want to protect, they're saying what we should do is find refugia on our highest mountains to make sure that those habitats are are cared for, and we have them in the future because they're going to be destroyed on all of the ridgetops. And
Just by climate.
By climate. And you know this area that is up on Wantastica where there was a forest fire?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That still hasn't regenerated.
The trees are starting to grow up. But a young friend of mine who hikes on Wantastica has told me, yeah, they're growing up, but they're a different species.
Trees. Yeah.
They're not the same species as the trees that were there, because the trees on the ridge lines are the ones that can survive there because there's no competition from trees that need warmer climates.
Yeah.
But the climate's getting warmer, so they can't survive. So all of that stuff is gonna.
So it's changing.
It's changing.
Definitely changing.
Okay, we are up to still January 20th, an item from Think Progress.
This is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Several key coal states lost more jobs than they gained in Trump's first year.
Donald Trump's idea of resurrecting coal has not been going well.
Not very well.
Despite initiating a slew of regulatory roadblocks aimed at helping the struggling coal sector regain jobs, the entire sector grew just 771 jobs nationwide during President Trump's first year in office. Moreover, several coal-producing states like Ohio, Kentucky, Montana, and Wyoming lost more coal jobs than they gained in the year. And you know what? I looked at the not Energy Information, FERC's report on infrastructure. When I read that report and I looked at the number of coal plants that had been retired.
Well, I'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, and the number that had been retired in 2015, which was the year that set the record for retirement. And if you take the retirements as a percentage of what was there at the beginning of the year, Donald Trump is doing just as badly as Obama in his war against coal.
Well, it plays well in Peoria, but
Yeah,
it's
some
not
Peorias.
a valid plan. And this is what it's saying. Trump's deregulatory agenda will do little to stem the loss of coal jobs created by automation and natural gas.
Yeah.
Not renewables.
Well, but it's renewables.
The industry has lost some 30,000 mining jobs between 2008 and 2016.
Yep.
Since Trump was elected, 24 coal power plants have announced plans to retire.
Did we have in this week, do you remember the net change in renewables? Because there was an article that said, if you look at and I might not have had it in the lineup for this week, but if you look at the net change last year, where you're comparing the building new plants and retiring old plants, both for renewable energy and for fossil fuels, something like 95% of the change was installation of renewables. The growth of fossil fuels is practically non-existent. Natural gas is growing, but coal is declining.
Economics is dictating.
Absolutely.
Let's move along here to Mount Olympus here.
Yeah, and we're up to Sunday, January 21st.
Let me see if I can't find Mount Olympus here.
Yeah, there you go. And that actually is Mount Olympus in Greece.
Oh yeah, if you look carefully, you'll see Zeus in the middle of the picture there.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Halfway up that tree, wearing an orange jacket. This is from the Arizona Daily Star, which has got deep interest in what's going on Mount Olympus.
Well, let's pull you up while I read.
Pull me up while you read. That makes sense.
The UA researchers used tree rings to reconstruct 300 years of European weather. And in a second, you're going to find out what UA means.
Yeah. A team of researchers led by a University of Arizona, UA, associate professor of dendrochronology. Now, that's a word, dendrochronology. What a neat word.
The lifetime of leaves?
No, trees.
Trees.
Examined lines in hundreds of tree rings to reconstruct the last 290 years of climate history. They found increases in extreme summer weather events in the last 50 years out of the last 290, which relate to an increase in changes in the jet stream from climate change. And this picture is a woman, I believe, climbing a tree.
She's taking
a core. She's drilling a hole into the tree in order to get a core.
So they can look at the rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, clever.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the takeaway here, in case you're not understanding what's going on, tree rings themselves in the tree.
Yeah.
Okay, they record the weather of past seasons.
Yeah.
There's a lush season is a big ring. There's a drought, it's a narrow ring.
Yeah.
Okay. And taken over long periods of time, the tree rings tell the history of local climate.
Right.
Okay. Extreme summer weather events in Europe, including extreme temperatures, wildfires, drought, and flooding, have become more frequent in the last 50 years. The same thing's happened in the U.S.
Absolutely.
This is about Europe.
Yeah.
And coincides with increased fluctuations of the position of the jet stream.
Right.
Which is controlled by climate change.
By climate change.
And
the jet
thing's
stream.
happening in the Pacific.
Yep.
It's happening in California.
Yes.
This article's about Greece.
Well, partly about Greece. It's really
It's about Europe.
worldwide.
Well, but it's
to
the
some
same
extent.
thing happening
Yeah.
in different parts of the
Yeah.
world.
But there was a lot of work in the article that was done in Greece and in Europe.
Well, this article is from Greece.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, I think so.
Our next item is from the Omaha World Record.
Omaha officials might be pursuing part of Apple's expansion plan without even knowing it.
Omaha area economic development officials are looking to get a piece of Apple's $30 billion plus expansion plan announced last week. Apple will build data centers, and it also plans to build a new corporate campus. Apple will power its new facilities with renewable energy, and Nebraska has a lot of wind power to offer.
Well, Apple is expanding, and these guys are looking to get some of that expansion money.
Yeah.
And they probably have a pretty good chance.
Yep.
Let's move along.
Okay, we are up to Monday, January 22nd.
So soon?
So soon. And now we have Las Vegas Review-Journal, and we have a picture of Washoe Lake and not enough snow.
Well, the takeaway from this thing says the view from the east side of Washoe Lake on January 7th of this year shows what snow drought looks like.
Yep.
On Slide Mountain and Mount Rose near Reno.
Yep.
It's kind of scary.
It is. There's a term for
That's supposed to be all white this time.
That's supposed to be all white. There's a term for what's going on right now in the Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada means snowy mountains.
Snow-covered mountains.
Yeah. In the mountains that feed the Colorado River, which means all kinds of people all down that river depend upon the water that's not going to be coming because the snow isn't there. It's called a snow drought.
A lot of people.
A lot of people.
Because it's used for a lot of irrigation.
That's right. It's called a snow drought, and Nevada climate scientists warn that periods of below average snowpack have become increasingly common and more frequent snow droughts are likely as global temperatures rise.
There's two kinds of snow droughts.
Yeah.
One is when it's really dry.
Yeah.
And the other one was it's wet, but they're not getting snow, they're getting rain.
Ah.
And both of these things are happening. But this particular drought is no snow.
Well, don't worry about it because it's a Chinese fraud.
For what it's worth, Las Vegas draws 90% of its water supply from snowmelt in the mountains of the Colorado River.
And what are they going to do when there's no snow to melt?
They're going to be dry.
They're going to be dry. They're going to have to truck water into Las Vegas to drink.
They are going to have to do that.
You know, I mean, we're getting into officially crazy weather on an officially regular basis. And, you know, people in Washington are saying it's just weather. It's not the
Don't worry,
climate.
we can sell them bottled water.
Yeah, we can sell them bottled water. Absolutely. Okay, we've got an item now from New England Public Radio.
This is a follow-up to the one we've already talked about, fuel security in New England.
Yeah.
Current fuel trends put New England at risk for rolling blackouts. This basically continues on.
Absolutely.
In the same
yeah,
it's
it's
a
the
different
same
article, but the same concept.
Same thing. A report says New England could see rolling power blackouts within years without more stable fuel supplies. ISO New England, an independent nonprofit that manages a 6-state power grid, says that they has studied how fuel supply and demand might play out in those states in the hypothetical winter of 2024 to 2025. That's not that far away, and they're studying this and saying we could be in trouble very, very soon.
Well, the scary part of it is New England may need added gas capacity to head off the need for controlled blackouts or other energy conservation measures.
We could put in solar and wind.
Well, that's other energy conservation measures.
Yeah,
and it would make more sense.
Yeah.
But there's more money right now, at least for the investors, to put in more gas. Put in gas
I'm seeing stuff happening that is just outrageous in terms of prices and things. And the price of gas is going up, apparently.
Yes, it is. Yes,
and,
it's gone up very rapidly in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it does that every once in a while. This is not unusual.
Well, the cost of inaction is potentially higher prices in the markets,
yeah,
as well as the reliability risk and potentially increased emissions.
Right.
Buy
a battery.
It's not a win-win situation, for sure.
Yeah, if you're in business, you can do something about this and ensure that your business will maintain. We're in a position now where we can buy batteries. I should show people this little guy.
Why don't you?
Yeah, this is my new computer. I've had these.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Everything.
Yeah, I'm going to take the back off this thing so you can see the actual computer. I had this thing in here on the show before. This little green thing is the computer, which costs $35 and new, and it's more powerful than any of the desktop computers that I've used. And it clips into this monitor, which I bought for not too much money. But the thing is, this right here,
that's the battery.
Is the battery that's running this thing.
Yeah.
It's a 5-volt lithium-ion battery that has 2.2 amps. It's rechargeable hundreds and hundreds of times. It costs $15, actually a little less than $15. And, the world is changing. It really is changing. And this computer has got 33 gigabytes of memory, 32 of which are available.
Which is a card, little
yeah,
SD card.
32 of it is available as a drive, but if it's not using it as a hard drive, it will access it as RAM.
As memory.
So I mean, the thing has got a quad-core 64-bit processor that's running at 1.2 gigahertz. And it has its graphics on board. It's fast. It's a fast little machine. It's basically what the best desktops were a few years ago, but it's $35. And I've had that. In fact, I think I've got here. This is its little brother. That cost $5. That's a computer.
That's the guts of it.
This is the guts of the little brother computer, which is called a Raspberry Pi Zero. That thing is a Raspberry Pi. That is a $5 computer, and it's as powerful as the desktop that I got 10 years ago.
That's incredible.
And that includes a gigabyte of RAM, and it also has the little SD card in it that has the operating system. And I mean,
and you can get 16 megs of RAM on that little card, right?
Right, and
it's got the operating system built in.
The card is the operating system built in, and the operating system includes something that would, if it were, 20 years ago, it would have been stiff competition for Windows Office.
Yeah.
But
it's called progress, man.
It's called progress. But the data farms that they're producing for the data centers are buildings that, they're like the tomato that ate Cincinnati in terms of their power use. Okay.
This is an interesting article, and it's very timely.
Yeah.
The challenges driving microgrids into the mainstream.
5 years ago, in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy,
yeah, we got a picture.
The potential of microgrids became quite clear when widespread disruption caused power outages in several states. Buildings with their own microgrid systems stood out like beacons against a backdrop of blackouts.
I remember that. That was a picture of downtown New York during the blackout.
And they had buildings.
Everything's black except 5 or 6 buildings. One here, one there, and with lights on.
Princeton University had major buildings that were just running as normal And, you know, people got very interested in that. This is from Power Engineering International. That picture, by the way, is Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, let's
So
put it
it's
up
not
again.
Sandy, but it's
That is Katrina, yep.
that is Katrina.
I can tell by the contours.
Can you really?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm sure it can be done, but I can't.
I'm sure you could, you know. In fact, I think that if you went to Google and searched for that image, it would know right away that it was
You probably
Katrina.
would.
Okay, we're up to Tuesday, January
Well,
23rd.
let's see.
What, you had something to say about this? Yes, there's a lot to say about it.
There's a lot to say about it. Well,
Yeah.
very simple. Microgrids are on the way.
Yeah.
And their wide-ranging benefits are becoming more compelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the wake of recent hurricanes, attention is turning to microgrids and their ability to island.
Yes.
And if you haven't
which
heard
means-
this term island, it means the ability to decouple from the wider power grid in the case of a fault.
Right, which and
And
an
to
entire
reconnect-
city could do this.
Oh yeah, or one building.
One building. One
and
circuit in
reconnect
one
when it
building.
goes back to normal.
Right. And that, I should remind people, the federal government has two offices that I know of, one of which is NASA, the other is FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which have warned people in the United States that they have to be prepared for power outages that are very long. And
I
when they're
think they
talking
said
about,
up to 3 years.
actually they said 3.5.
Three and a half, yeah.
3.5. You have to be ready for a 3.5 year
That
power
would
outage.
totally destroy civilization.
Well, it would
It would certainly change the way we do things.
it would leave a lot of people very, very hungry. In fact, a lot
Yeah.
of people would die of starvation, I think, in a situation like that. The thing that's really compelling about this is that switching to a microgrid and operating on that basis will not only give you the security so that you can live through such a thing, but it'll cost you less money than doing nothing.
Well, I don't have inside knowledge about this yet, so I'm just going to guess. But I think in the very near future, we're going to spend a large part of our show on microgrids.
Well, I think we should probably do a special on microgrids.
I think that'd be a good
Yeah.
idea because it's an idea whose time has come.
Absolutely. Okay, we're up to Tuesday, January 23rd, with an item
Oh,
from
this
the Guardian.
one's ridiculous. This one's
Well,
ridiculous.
you know, I mean,
Trump imposes steep tariffs on imported solar panels and washing machines.
and well, he's planning on imposing tariffs on a bunch of things, but these are the first.
These are
two
the ones that
came
he
up.
started.
President Trump has announced steep tariffs on imported washing machines and solar panels, giving a boost to Whirlpool Corporation and dealing a setback to the renewable energy industry in the first of several potential trade restrictions. The tariff on solar panels is intended to protect two foreign-owned manufacturers.
That's interesting. Yeah, they're Chinese owned.
Yeah, well, one of them is German, but they
That's
they
right,
have
yeah,
factories in the United States,
Yep.
and what he's doing is protecting the people who work in those factories.
Yeah.
But the Solar Energy Association, American Solar Energy
I
Association,
was just going to say that.
says that we could lose what's the figure, Tom?
23,000 jobs.
23,000 jobs, and there are other organizations in the solar industry that are coming up with figures as high as 88,000.
And another part of the takeaway here is even more scary. Trump is considering recommendations on import restrictions for steel and aluminum on national
He
security
wants
grounds.
us to be manufacturing steel in this country the way that we were in 1940.
It ain't going to happen.
Well,
Economics is going to dictate it's not going to happen.
yeah, there's a
It's a gift to the Chinese economy.
Okay, we can look at the numbers. Okay, we know that Koch Industries donated a lot of money to Freedom Partners.
Okay.
Okay, we know
Who are they?
Freedom Partners in early 2015 said, we're going to put $889 million into the upcoming elections in order to make sure that our people control the White House and the Congress.
They were right, weren't they?
Well, they did it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So what have we got? We've got a situation in which the people who control our legal structure in Washington, D.C., is in the pocket of the fossil fuels industry.
Yeah.
Because the other contributors to this thing include,
They're also fossil
you know,
fuelers.
And so, are we going to get good government out of that? Really? Well, here's the thing. When that happened, David and Charles Koch, who own 88, 82, whatever it is, but it's more than 80% of Koch Industries, had already seen that their bottom line was suffering.
Mm-hmm.
They blamed Barack Obama for this, but it wasn't Barack Obama's fault. This was just the marketplace. And they wanted to stop that. They have a lot of people who are conservative, who believe in a free market, who want to stop.
There's no such thing as a free market.
Well, they believe that a free market would work beautifully, and they want to stop incentives. So what happens? They go along with this because the Koch brothers have been giving them support for a long time.
Yep.
So they trust them, and on the basis of this trust, we've got a Congress that's taken over by people who claim to be conservatives, but they are beholden to the people who bought them their jobs.
Duh.
And the numbers are all there, as far as I can tell, because the Supreme Court, in its infinite wisdom, decided that Citizens United case would go the way that it did, which means that it's legal for these companies to buy the politicians, which means that they don't have anything to hide, so we can see the numbers there.
Yeah.
But the problem is the Koch brothers are going broke because climate change is real, and because renewables are working, and because you have to use the renewables to address climate change, and their business is part of the problem, not part of the solution, so they're in trouble. And there's nothing they can do to stop that. And the companies that Donald Trump wants to protect here with tariffs, okay, they can charge more. And all that will do is increase their sales in the United States. But they're marginal companies. That's why they asked for help. But it also means that they are going to be unable to compete in the world market because they're going to be charging too much money for solar panels. And the world market is where it is.
That's where it is.
Now, our next item, we should go on to the next item, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think we should.
Because I'll say more about that. This is from Clean Technica.
We've got a picture coming up here, too.
Yeah, we do. I've put it up.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think I've seen this picture before.
Floating solar. Well, we've seen a lot of pictures like it.
We've seen something
certainly.
like it.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen this exact one.
What's the
That's
title?
A floating solar panel, by
Yeah.
the way.
What's the title here?
China officially installed 52.83 gigawatts worth of solar in 2017. That's just solar.
That's just solar.
And it's 25 Yankees before they
Yeah, well, there's more to say about
Yankee.
that. China's National Energy Administration published official solar statistics for 2017, revealing that the country had installed a total of 52.83 gigawatts of new solar capacity in 2017. That is a 54% increase from the 32.2 gigawatts of new solar installed in 2016, and that figure was thought enormous. Now, here's the thing. They put in 52.83 gigawatts of solar in 1 year. How much solar do you think is already installed in the United States?
I haven't a clue.
A little bit more than half of that. They installed,
and they did, this is just
in
one year
they installed almost twice as much solar as we have
total.
And last year, the amount of solar that we installed was about a tenth of that amount. They are outstripping the United States by 10 to 1. And Donald Trump wants to save coal.
Well, he's making China great again.
He's making China great again. Okay, do you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on here. We're getting there. We got
Renew Economy came
left.
up with this next one.
AU, you're going to find out what that is. Renewable energy target is met. More wind and solar will lower prices and improve reliability.
AU is not an acronym or initials, it's just Australia.
It's
They
Australia.
also call it the land of Oz, or just Oz. Australia's clean energy regulator announced that the 2020 renewable energy target has been effectively met 3 years ahead of schedule. The earlier 42,000 gigawatt hour target had to be cut to 33,000 gigawatt hours by the Abbott government under the pretext that it would cost prices to rise and lights to go out. He wanted to take the incentives and give them to the coal industry.
Funny things happening in Australia because the Abbott government is like totally anti any kind of renewables.
Was.
But the people
Yeah.
are much in favor.
Well, their
I mean, they're
electricity
putting
is
up solar
expensive.
like it's going out of style.
They are. There's more
Privately,
more
no incentive. They're just doing it.
more penetration of solar on rooftops with batteries in Australia than any other country
Anywhere
in the
else.
world. Okay, the prediction by the Abbott government turned out to be absurd. They could have met that 42 gigawatt hour target, but anyway. You have more on that, Tom? We have to move. We've got 4 items in 9 minutes.
No, I'm going to pass. I got
Okay.
something to say, but it's not that
Okay.
not that
Our
important.
next item comes from NBCnews.com.
Puerto Rico to privatize its hobbled electric power company.
Yeah, Puerto Rico government Ricardo Rossello announced that he will privatize the island's crippled, broke, and decrepit electric company, energy authority, which he said has become a heavy burden to the residents and has been hampering economic recovery. The bankrupt company has outdated, inefficient, and polluting generating and transmission systems.
Well, this power company was government owned,
Yeah,
but the politicians have just raided it.
yeah.
They haven't funded it. They've stolen money from it, and it hasn't
It's been abused not only in Puerto Rico but in Washington, D.C.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I would not suggest necessarily that privatization is the answer, but from what the article says here, it's not a total kind of privatization that you might think.
Nobody's going to want to buy this.
Well, they're going to be they have issued a call for proposals.
Yeah.
Okay, and all
You know
depends
what
on the nature of the deal. But this it looks like it could be a positive result for Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
The generation portion of the electrical authority should be broken up so that there is competition, and the public retains the distribution side.
Yeah.
Okay, that sort of makes a little more sense.
A little bit.
It should be decentralized, make as much use of renewable energy as possible, and have strong independent oversight from an energy commission that has enough teeth to do its job.
Right.
Well, all of these have corrected some of the situations that existed there.
Right.
Any new model should include microgrids and a strong infrastructure investment that makes Puerto Rico's economy more competitive and a grid more resilient.
Right.
So somebody down there knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's hope that the net result works,
Yep.
because the old result wasn't.
The old result wasn't.
You know, I
but
ran
this was
into
a part of the United States that was being abused by the states. in Washington.
Definitely. I ran into a friend of mine just last week who is from Puerto Rico,
Yes.
and she says her mother, who lives down there, still doesn't have power.
Well, I'm not surprised. Only.
That was what, 4 months?
Yeah. That's actually, it goes back past Hurricane Maria to Hurricane Irma. There have been people who haven't had power since Irma.
Yeah.
Okay, we are up to Wednesday, January 24th.
And
We
we've
have
got a picture here.
And this is an item from Houston Public Radio.
How the U.S. government is underestimating the global growth of renewable energy.
This thing has mystified me since before I started the blog, which was in 2012. Dan Cohan, the professor at Rice University, who uses numbers provided by the U.S. DOE's Energy Information Administration, came to question some of them. On examination, he found some of the numbers on renewable energy were often wildly inaccurate.
Well, I read into this article, and
Yeah.
it doesn't appear to have been done deliberately.
No,
It
it
seems
doesn't.
like these guys just goofed.
I've been wondering for a long time why their numbers were so bad, because they were unbelievable.
They're continually underestimating the growth in wind and solar by looking at the past.
But they're off. I mean, just
They're off hugely.
hugely. This is absolutely wild. They have a graph. Okay, the graph goes like this. It's a graph that goes like this. It's exponential. Growth of solar and wind and batteries goes like that.
Yeah.
And every year along this graph, they hit the year's evaluation and they say, okay, it's going to go up a little bit and then it'll level
We've
off.
talked
And
about
it goes
that on
up
this
and it
show.
levels off. And
I
it goes
think we
up
even
and it
had that
levels
graph
off.
on this
Yes,
show.
we have had it. And I saw this and I thought, their estimations are so bad. Why are they doing this? And I realized that it was actually buried in the paradigms they were using, in the structure of in the formulas that they were using.
They just set up these formulas 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And they might have been good at 20 odd years ago.
No, I don't think they were ever.
They were even good then.
I don't think so. But for example, they say, well, if a third world country is going to report the amount of solar it's got installed, they're going to over-report it and report it really badly.
Yeah.
And, that's how they do it. And it just turned out, I think one of the things to remember is the nuclear industry is always wrong. Always. If they say it costs $5 billion, it's going to cost 15.
15.
Well, whatever. We'll compromise between your figure and mine, 12 and a half. If they say it's going to take 5 years, it means it's going to take 15. We've
talked about exactly that.
Yeah. And what does this mean? It means that the people who are evaluating these figures expect the people who are giving them to lie. But the solar and wind industry, if they say it's going to be there in October and cost $1 million, it's there in October and costs $1 million. And the reason why that happens is because they can install so fast and their installations are so slow that in order to get customers, they've got to deliver properly.
Well, that seems to make sense.
Okay, we are up to a piece from Reuters on Budweiser.
Gotta. Where's our mugs? Green logo for Budweiser. As brewer taps into U.S. wind power.
Budweiser.
This is an interesting article.
Yeah, said it has switched all its U.S. brewing to renewable electricity and is adding a clean energy logo to its labels as part of a shift to green power by its parent, Anheuser-Busch InBev, the world's biggest brewer. A, quote, 100% renewable electricity, end quote, symbol will be added to the U.S. bottles and cans, they said.
Well, we're going to be talking about this exact thing as it is spreading in the next article.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next article.
Let's do that. The next article is from Renewable Energy Magazine.
Multinationals accelerating global clean economy.
Renewables are becoming the energy source of choice for corporate electricity users, with electricity generation owned by companies increasing more than 12-fold. That is a lot. In Europe, in 2016, that's just 1 year, it was multiplied by 12. This is according to a report which tracks progress made by companies committed to 100% renewable power as part of the RE100 initiative.
Yes. Well, it's making sense.
Yeah.
Basically, these guys are getting on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of a Chinese hoax.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that it's obviously going to be extremely excruciating to Donald Trump.
Well, there's a factor there that I don't think Trump is even aware of, but this is a power purchasing agreement thing.
Yeah.
And its market is an opportunity for investment. People are trading these power purchasing agreements.
Yep.
And it's creating a whole new, how would you say, wave of investment.
Right, and what Trump is doing by trying to support coal and put tariffs on solar and things like that is addressing paradigms that existed in the past in the finance world. And he's not addressing the problems that exist in the present. So he can't even help the people he wants to help.
Well, like I said, it plays well in Peoria, but not in the real world.
Well, it's about time for us to close up, I think.
Yeah, we've kind of finished up here.
Yeah, so I guess we should say good night.
Well, let's get us both up here and I can wave.
See you later, or you see us later.